The Festival of the Moon is a Chinese story. Once upon a time, on the vast land of China, there was a small village where the moonlight shone beautifully. The villagers cherished the light of the moon and looked forward to the annual Moon Festival. The festival took place on the night of the full moon in autumn, when family and friends gathered to celebrate by looking up at the moon and eating together, reciting poetry, and singing songs. In the center of the village was an old woman, Grandma Mao, who was in charge of preparing for the Moon Festival. She was the wisdom of the village and knew many legends and stories related to the moon. Every year, the day before the festival, she asked the villagers to gather and began to tell the origin of the Moon Festival and the old stories about the moon. One year, the day before the festival, a young daughter, Lin, returned to the village. Lin works in the city and returns to her native village after a long absence. Lin loved the tradition of the Moon Festival and looked forward to it every year. However, there was something that bothered me this year. Seeing the villagers preparing for the festival, Lin took the plunge and asked Granny Mao, "Grandma Mao, the Moon Festival is very beautiful. Why do we cherish the moon so much?" Grandma Mao smiled and replied to Lin, "That's because it is said that the moon contains the souls of our ancestors. The moon is watching over us, and even when we face difficulties, its light empowers us. That's why we celebrate with gratitude to the moon at this festival." Lin took those words deeply in her heart, and I heard the legend that Grandma Mao continued. "It is said that once upon a time there was a beautiful princess living on the moon, who was the goddess of the moon, and everyone admired her beauty. However, the moon goddess missed the human world and dreamed of descending to Earth and spending time with people. One day, she meets a brave young man. The young man's name was Zhang. Chan saw the moonlight and fell in love with the moon goddess. However, the moon goddess was not allowed to descend to Earth. The gods ordered her to stay on the moon. Although Zhang could not obtain the moon goddess, the light of the moon remained in his heart for a long time, and every night he looked up at the moon and lived with that thought in his heart. When Lin heard the story, she felt that the moon was not just a light, but a being with deep love and sorrow. When the day of the Moon Festival arrived, the villagers gathered together and began to celebrate while looking up at the moon. In the square where everyone gathered, mooncakes and fruits were lined up, lights were lit, and the village children danced and sang songs to have fun. Lin looked up at the moon with Granny Mao and prayed quietly in her heart. "Like the light of the moon, I want to be a person who warmly illuminates someone." With that in mind, Lin vowed to do her best for others in the rest of her life. That night, the moon illuminated the village, as if it were giving off a special glow. The light of the moon gently enveloped the villagers, and everything was filled with peace. In that beautiful light, Lin felt the importance of being a member of a big family and supporting each other to live. The Lunar Festival was not just a time of celebration, but a special moment to unite hearts. That night, Lin looked up at the moon and vowed to live by cherishing the teachings and thoughts of her ancestors. That's it.